هاي إلياس. ما عم بسمع.
Hi. Hi, Nadine.
Hello, we cannot start. We have to wait till 2.
But Nadine, do you hear me?
Yes, now yes. They were muting us.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Welcome to the first Agri-Food Innovation Day in Lebanon.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second Agri-Food Innovation Day in Lebanon. Your Excellency, Ambassador Frederick Doman, we thank you and the Kingdom of the Netherlands for your continuous and unwavering support and commitment. Allow me to add a personal note here by saluting your predecessor, Ambassador Waltman, a true friend of Beritech, who has paved the way for the great relationship we have enjoyed and will continue to enjoy with the embassy under your direction. Jan, you believed in Lebanon and you ended up paying dearly for it on that dreadful day. Your tragedy is unspeakable and the entire Beritech family shares your pain. You and Hedwig are continuously in our thoughts and prayer, and we wish you and your family all the best always. Till we meet again, dear Ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, last year we were all together celebrating innovation in the agri-food sector in Lebanon. We started the agriculture revolution together under the direction and with the support of the Dutch embassy. Today you join us online for the second edition. You join industry leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, startup investors, researchers, students, and visionaries who are meeting on this virtual platform to discuss the evolution of the agri-food sector in uncertain times and exchange the most exciting innovations and opportunities in food and agriculture. Last year, I spoke of agriculture being a national matter and how Lebanon can play a role in the food security of the region, given the microclimates it has, as well as its human capital and entrepreneurship mindset. This is still my firm belief. It has been a very hard year on everyone, and particularly hard on Lebanon. However, at Beritech, failure, despair, and giving up are not words in our dictionary. It is in our DNA to see solutions where others see problems. It is our raison d'être to support innovation and advancement. It is our mission to create an environment against all odds for those who wish to move forward and be part of the 21st century. We launched at the beginning of this year a new initiative. We are particularly proud of the ACT Smart Innovation Hub initiative, a new approach by Beritech and co-funded by the Kingdom of the Netherlands, aimed at strengthening business advancement, economic growth, and job creation in the agri-food and clean tech sectors in Lebanon. We are today more than ever convinced that our mission will persevere. Today, and during the second edition of the Agri-Food Innovation Day, we are discussing the future of the agri-food sector and how innovation and sustainability can become the premise for its growth, as well as cluster-driven circular economy. And we strongly believe that the financial crisis will reinforce the implementation of circular economy principle as well as the role of clusters in catalyzing it. Beritech has been working hard with the entrepreneurs enrolled in our Agritech Accelerator program. Today, you will be able to watch these promising agri-food startups present their innovative solution for the first time. These young men and women believe in change, in making a difference, and in growing. We need to rally around them to support their different initiatives. We need to create opportunities for our young generation, and we need to give the agri-food sector a boost and move forward all together. A virtual event like this one can mean only one thing: the possibility for many around the world to join us to share ideas, to put things in motion, and to be part of the agri-food revolution. We do not wait to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We create it ourselves. That is what Beritech does, and that is what we believe in. Thank you very much. Enjoy the activities and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Maroon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Maroon, for your message. I would definitely like to thank Her Excellency Ambassador Frédérique Domin for her joining us in the ecosystem and joining the change that is starting from here. So today, Beritech's team's mission is to change those challenges or to work on those challenges that are faced in the ecosystem, especially in the agri-food sector, and change those challenges into opportunities where we can work together to solve it. Today, we are bringing a message of hope, because hope alone will let us defy and fight forward for a better, let's say, future. And now let me share with you a message from the ambassador who joined us recently in Lebanon, supporting the ecosystem. Her message will be shared with you, bringing a new hope to this country.
Happy that I'm able to say a few words at the beginning of this webinar. Let me start by saying that the Netherlands is a proud supporter of the Act Smart Innovation Hub, and it is important for Lebanon to be part of innovation and to provide opportunities to its youth to be part of it. The Netherlands, as you all know, has a front-runner position when it comes to being the second biggest agricultural exporter in the world. And people are always asking me, how is it possible for such a small country? And I think the main reason for this is that we work with what we call the golden triangle. So that is the collaboration between the private sector, the government and research institutes, and they work together to find innovative solutions to make optimal use of the limited resources. The work with Beritech and on the Agri-Tech program fits in very well with the embassy's priorities. And if we look at the fact that 87% of the participants are below 35 years old, so that is the support to youth, that's very important to us, and 41% were women supported in the third batch. And it is very important to support youth in gaining a better perspective for their future and in building their own future through innovation support, entrepreneurship and SME support. And despite all challenges, and Lebanon has been facing many of them, the program succeeded in supporting 18 startups, including 51 participants, and I think we should all be very proud of that. The current situation in Lebanon shows even more than before that innovation and job creation are needed. Unemployment rate currently stands at more than 35%, and many young people are underemployed or not employed at all, and the labor market does not provide them with sufficient opportunities to build their future in Lebanon. The Act Smart Innovation Hub contributes to soften the negative aspects of the economic recession by providing jobs and opportunities in the agri-food sector. We wish that our support will bring hope for the Lebanese people to work through the different crises they are facing, hoping that this project will be able to make an even stronger impact on Lebanon, its economy and its youth. I wish you a very fruitful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for the great message. And now, let me welcome our Deputy General Manager, and Act Smart Program Director, one of the pioneers who led the change in Berytech, Mr. Rami Boujawdi. Rami, the floor is yours.
Salah, thank you. We're very pleased to have you here today. And our Agri-Food Innovation Day is an important day, and it's a day for Lebanon, for the region. Our region is suffering from a lot of instability, and food security is a major concern. Climate change is affecting it. People leaving the rural areas are putting the whole region at risk. Agriculture and agri-food innovations are core to improving our sector, are core to creating jobs, are core to creating stability and ensuring that we do the job right. We need to focus on sustainability, on ensuring that we increase our food production through the use of technology, innovation, mechanisms that would save water, use renewable energy, and ensure that our production of food is done in a smart manner that would feed our population and ensure that everybody in this region, in the MENA region, is able to get healthy food, nutritious food, and so on. The ecosystem around agri-food innovations is growing. Berytech started it in 2016, and through those 4 years actually, we have been able to connect with regional players and local players to make a difference. I take this opportunity to invite everybody in Lebanon and outside to collaborate with us on putting the challenges out for innovators with whom we're going to work in our fourth batch. Today, we're going to see the third batch, but our fourth batch should be the one also that would look at challenges in the region. And we're looking at partners who are willing to go with us the next step, who are willing to work with us, with those innovators, to put changes on the ground and support them in making the difference. So I call NGOs, private sector, government agencies, and everybody who believes in the sector to work with us on it. Berytech have been leading on this sector, not only in Lebanon, but we are currently leading the WE4F, the Water and Energy for Food Regional Innovation Hub in MENA. Together with our partners and with funding from international donors, we're working on taking the region to the next level. We're also very proud to co-lead on the Future Agro Challenge MENA bootcamp, where we're going to be working with a number of incubators and accelerators in the region to push for more agri-food innovation in the region. So if you're watching us and you're in the region, you're welcome to join us. And I'm proud to have the partners of Future Agro Challenge with us that have been with us for quite some time. I also would like to make sure that everybody who's watching us, who believes in what we're doing, to spread the word and share what our innovators are doing. You will have the chance this afternoon to see pitches about those startups that we're working. I also want to stress on the effort that our cluster members, the COOT cluster members, Lebanon's Agri-Food Innovation Cluster, are doing to make this agriculture sector more resilient, more productive, and go to the international by producing and selling locally and internationally. So please continue the day with us. And Salah, I leave the floor back to you to lead us through this journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rami. Thank you, Rami, for this. Today to introduce our day. So all of you are waiting to know what's going on, what's the plan, what's the agenda, a brief agenda. But before going into the details of today's meetup, the webinar, I would first urge you to join the Agri-Food AFID digital platform that will be shared in the messenger now. So we will send you a message with the link to share the platform. So before going into the brief agenda, let me share with you some of our innovation, some of our benchmarks that happened throughout the previous period. So if we are talking about Agritech, we have supported in the batch 3 of Agritech around 51 entrepreneurs. And those 51 entrepreneurs, we set diversity and inclusion as a pillar where we select those engineers, scientists, and innovators in the field. So among those, we have 40% female and more than 84 youth members. And we have provided them more than $150,000 in cash grants to help them create their innovation and innovate more. We have also provided them with more than 850 hours of mentorship. including local mentorship and international mentorship, connecting them with those mentors, giving them more information and more way to succeed. And I'm super proud of all those entrepreneurs who made it despite the current situation. Not to forget that we have another, not only agri-tech, but also a flagship, different flagship, a new program, Cleanergy, which started this year. We have batch 1, and in the phase 1 only, we have 85 entrepreneurs, and those represent 22 startups, where we gave them up to $45K in value and a lot of trainings. So today, what's coming next? So what's next? Next, we need to build on the technology to help those innovators. We need to take the program and what we have done with the people moving forward. We need to gain access to different markets and help them. Going back to a summary of today. So we have 2 panels around challenges in the agri-food sector, in the circular economy and the cluster. Also, we have a keynote speaker from France joining us online. She will be talking about innovation in the agri-food sector. Of course, we need to showcase our amazing startups afternoon, and they will be pitching in front of you, giving you a glimpse about their innovation. And a quick off from first panel, we have questions. You can post it on the Afid platform to those startups, and if you have interest with them, join them. Now, without any delay, we need to jump to our first panel. It's about the challenges in agri-food sector, the rise of a new generation of entrepreneurs. Let me welcome with us Nadine Khouri, the CEO at Robinson Agri and the president of Cood. Nadine, thank you for being with us. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon from Beirut. Before I introduce the topic and panelists, I would like to ask you a favor. Today, we will change the narrative with a simple word swap. Instead of using the word challenge, we will swap it with adventure. Okay, let's go. So my name is Nadine Khouri, and it's with great pleasure that I host you all today to discuss the adventures of the agri-food sector. What does the sector futures look like? Can innovation and sustainability drive it forward? Do you foresee a vibrant and local and regional agri-food sector? So let us welcome the panelists. Unfortunately, Dr. Wafa Dia couldn't join us today for personal reasons. And we are delighted to have with us Mrs. Hanya Shahar, who is a dear friend to Veritech. Hanya is a holder of bachelor degree in agriculture, and she has a master's degree in food economics and marketing. She has a wide experience in designing, leading, and implementing different assessment and projects across Lebanon and the region. Welcome, Hanya. Also, we welcome Ms. Tessa Terpestra. Tessa is the first Dutch envoy for water and energy security for the MENA region. She is based in Jordan. Tessa focuses on regional cooperation towards sustainable governance of natural resources, to share best practices of water supply and reuse in agriculture. Also with us today, Mr. Sharbel Hanna. Sharbel is an agriculture engineer, and he has a master's degree in plant protection from the Lebanese University. His current portfolio includes leading the assessment, design, management, coordination of the projects and program within USAID Economic Growth Portfolio. And finally, we have Dr. Elias Ghadban. Elias is the regional advisor for food security issues at ESCWA. He is a socioeconomist with an extensive experience in designing and implementing agriculture development projects, in particular under forced displacement, MENA, and SSA. So welcome everybody, and I hope you will enjoy our panel today. Dr. Elias, I will start with you. From your experience and background, how is the conflict in the region delaying the progress in the agri-food sector?
Thank you, Nadine. for the introduction, and I'm glad to be in this panel. And also, good afternoon for all participants. The role of conflict in the fragility of agri-food system, it goes beyond the direct impact of conflict, which is sometimes it depends on how we try to describe the conflict. If we're talking about countries under conflict like Syria, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, with in comparison with countries under who are fragile, who have or least developed countries who have low investment in sectors like agriculture or industry. We need to first to frame actually what are the determinants of fragile agri-food systems in the Arab region, in order to see later on how technology, different technology from low tech to high tech can play a role in improving the resilience and the performance of this sector. So for the participant, it's important to have to actually know that our region is a food dependent, food import dependent region. So around 80% of our food is imported. The food import cost around 4% of our GDP. 25% of the wheat traded globally end up in the region. And the region is characterized by high population growth, which is above the world average. It's around 1.9%. In addition, this population growth is more and more urbanized. So we're seeing that the more we are progressing, the more people are living in cities in the Arab region, and this affects the agri-food system. It is expected that around 70% of the people in the region will be living in cities by 2050, which affect the way we need to look about our agri-food systems and agriculture trade and rural areas. In addition to that, we have the lifestyle and the culture of the regions, which progressively are relying on the consumption of animal protein-based diets, which is not sustainable, and it's almost imported to our region. With all of this, we need also to move from a situation where we have around 10% of the population in the Arab region. The total population is around 420 million. So 10% of it, which is 40 million, is classified malnourished. And in parallel, we have around between 27 and 30% of the population are obese. So we need to take this into consideration in order to see what are these determinants of fragility of agri-food system. So this is the general context. Now, if we go in depth to the agriculture sectors and to the barriers of good agri-food system in the region, the participant should know that the arable land in the region is limited, which is approximately 7% of the total land surface in the Arab region. We have the aridity.
How much? The arable land is how much?
7% of the total land surface. We have the second factor, which is the aridity. 90% of the land in the Arab region is classified as dry land. And we have agriculture sector is the largest consumer of water in the region. It consumes around 80% of water use. In addition, this water use has low efficiency. So maximum water use efficiency in this sector is between 50 and 60%. And here we try to start looking about the opportunities of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
let me check with Tessa. Tessa, in reference to what Elias just mentioned and its intervention about the region and about the aridity of the region. And because you are here since 6 years and you are holding, you know what is happening. Do you, from your experience and knowledge, can you share the same vision? Do you have the same portfolio? What can you add to this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nadine, and it's a big pleasure to be here, and I'm really honored to be on your Innovation Day with a huge turnout. So thank you very much for this. So Elias, indeed, I very much recognize what you're saying about the small arable land size and the very high use of water for the agricultural sector in the region. On top of that, there's also a quite a low proportion of the GDP is derives from agricultural income. However, the social aspect of food production and the social fabric, so to speak, around farming and arable land is incredibly important. So we feel as the Dutch government were quite active in several countries in the Arab region, in the Middle East, around the water food nexus, trying to make the agricultural production more water efficient. So raising the water productivity of the agriculture sector to try to maximize profits, but also work in a sustainable way. And we feel that this is incredibly important given the rising water scarcity due to climate change. So in the Netherlands, although we were quite a water-rich country, we've managed to raise our water productivity to a very large extent, being more water efficient, like 10 times more water efficient than, for instance, the average water productivity in Jordan. And we're trying to help farmers to use simple technology, low tech, sometimes high tech, depending on the capacity of the farmer and the farm to be more productive.
So if I may also ask Charbel, after what Tessa and Elias said, and the scarcity, how is the water is so crucial. How did USAID incorporated this in Lebanon and in the region? And what did you do about the initiatives you did about this? Charbel, are you with us? We can't hear you. If you can unmute yourself, please. Maybe USAID didn't do any of these initiatives to save water resources.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I had a technical issue. So of course we did. Thank you, Nadine, for this question, and thanks everyone for having us as USAID here in the panel. So I agree with what Elias and Tessa has already said regarding water. We had done a lot about water management in our portfolio and initiatives as USAID Lebanon and as USAID Regional. I would like to speak a little bit about USAID Lebanon specifically. We have introduced lots of technologies related to water management at the level of production in terms of either irrigation systems, other types of water management technologies. However, there is something also really important that I wanted to highlight, which is related to water management, recycling, and reuse at the level of the agricultural processing. So as part of our initiatives also, we have identified lots of gaps at this level across several value chains and subsectors, where we have introduced water treatment and reuse systems at the level of the private sector, at the level of the agro industries, and this helped them a lot reduce the cost. We reduced also the pollution, and we helped them manage their water more efficiently.
Not hearing you anymore, Sharbel.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
What did you hear last? What was the last thing you heard?
That you did a lot of amazing stuff as USAID.
This is your opinion. I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Of course.
No, I was speaking about the water management at the level of the agro industry.
Yes.
I don't. Are you still hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so that was my last point regarding introduction of technologies for water recycling and reuse at the level of the industry, where we felt and we believed and we succeeded in helping these industries reduce their production cost, reduce the pollution that the wastewater causes at the level of the water resources, and also manage their water more efficiently.
Thank you, Sharbel. Thank you, Sharbel. Sharbel, I think you need to arrange your microphone. Can you arrange your microphone, please, Sharbel? I will ask Hanya now, because she has a big experience in different organizations. What do you think are I will not use the term, I will use the term adventures. I swap it already. What are the adventures on the ground in terms of innovation in the agriculture? Not only agri-food sector, also in the agriculture.
I think if we are to compare different issues, I think the number one, which has to do really with the target group regarding adopting the innovation. These people, either they don't have really the right financial resources, they don't have the right knowledge, they don't really have what it takes to adopt. And as you know, for technology, you need early adopters. And
Hanya, we lost you again. Hanya, Hanya, I think you need to move
enough in order to entice other people to join. So this is, it's innovation itself. We have, can you hear me now?
Yes. Now
okay.
We hear you again.
Can you hear me now? Or
yes, yes, now yes.
Okay, okay. So I talked about, I mean, to have really early adopters of innovation, to be actually influential to influence other people, to entice them as well. And I think the second thing that we are really missing out is the, let's say, the innovation itself. We're always thinking of trying to just import the technology rather than coming up with solutions ourselves. So either trying to adapt the technology rather than really looking on the ground, what's the problem. We don't have the right enabling environment, of course, but at the same time, I think because of the probably lack of real orientation and investment in research and development. This is also a very crucial thing. We're not really oriented into investment in research and development. And we're always looking at the business. I mean, we're looking at innovation in terms of technology, not really in terms of business, also processes and business ideas. So I feel that these are the main issues that are impacting technology integration in the agriculture sector right now.
Thank you, Hanya. For the audience, don't forget to add your questions to the panelists, and the panelists will answer them later. You have the Q&A segment on the booth of the panel, local and regional challenges. So any question, the panelists, we will have 15 to 20 minutes later to answer all your questions. I will return back to Elias. Elias, from what you hear from what you heard from Hanya, Tessa, and Charbel about innovation and technology and how important we should include them in all our program. How technology transfer and adoption can scale up our agriculture system. It is an easy stuff to do. Do we have the people to do this technology or to use it?
Yeah, actually, your question has several answers, but directly, we can say that it depends on the enablers and readiness of the country to transform, to adopt, and to scale up technology. So the technology is there, but who will be able to buy it and use it to have impact directly on protection of natural resources and increased income and increased job opportunities. So looking to the challenges and to the structures of agri-food systems in the Arab region, definitely by hypothesis, I'm saying by hypothesis and theory, that technology will have a role in the sustainable intensification. And here I'll more focus on the water productivity and water use efficiency, on the marketing, on agriculture finance, and specifically as well on issues related to connecting, to creating linkages between clusters, between cooperatives. So the rural economy itself, how it could be more linked to urban systems. You will have also an important role for the technology in reducing food losses and waste, which is an important factor in the Arab region and in every country in the Arab region. Actually, the participant as well should know that around 1/3 of our food in the region is lost and wasted across the value chain. So start from the field and end up by the consumer. And technology at this component and this angle is very important to improve the efficiency of our agri-food system. So,
in our region, 1/3 of our food is lost. What about in the European country, for example, or in the developed country? It's also
it's less than 10%.
Oh, wow.
So you have 1/3 of the food that we put water for it, we put fertilizer for it, we cultivate, etc., and then it end up to be wasted. So I mean, and this is an equivalent factor for the number of malnourished people, and for the as well, it is linked to the land availability. So you need more land to be cultivated in order to increase your production, because there is, I mean, it depends on the time frame. You will not be able to sustainably intensify your production in 10 years unless you put high investments in inputs use and technology. So depending on the economic situation of the country, because you need also to take into consideration, for instance, that in the Gulf countries, which is there is a water problem, but there is a high investment opportunities. The transfer of technology has more potential than in the least developed countries, where in the least developed countries, the agriculture sector has more contribution to GDP. So looking at the region itself, we need to look at each country as a specific case, understand what are the enablers and what is the readiness of the country to transfer and adopt the technology and then scale it up, in particular with small producers, because they are the main producers in the Arab region. And this is directly related to the public policy. So public policy in agriculture sector has been very weak in the Arab region. And this is
not only in Lebanon, so it's all over the Arab region.
In the Arab region, there is an indicator about how the government invest in the agriculture sector in order to promote it. It is called the Agriculture Orientation Index, which is 0.28. So let's expect the agriculture sector contribute to $10 billion of GDP. The government invest in it 2.8. So the investment according to the revenue is less. So the government in investing in other sectors more than the agriculture, which is a main contributor to food availability at national level. Because also we don't want to, to guide the participants that food security or agriculture is the only solution, because we need to see about the accessibility to the food and the logistics issues, and how technology in the logistical sector, in particular in agriculture trade, can facilitate the linkages and reduce additional costs that end up being paid by the final consumer. In the Arab region, we have also high food and loss and waste due to these logistical issues and to agriculture trade. So as well, we need to see the opportunities provided for the private sector to invest in this technology transfer, because the private sector, it's not difficult for the private sector to do this transfer if the product is available, because we know they have their engineers, they are good in terms of improving awareness, etc. But at the end, they are profit oriented. So if the market demand for this technology is high, the private sector will jump in and work. And the private sector needs to have the enabling environment from the government. Education is another factor. The competitive role of the agriculture sector is also another factor. So you do have a lot of multiple factors that play a role in the facilitation of the transfer, the adoption, and the scale up. But the process is fast or slow, depending on how the government is looking into the sector, what are the opportunities, and how the technology used would improve the competitiveness of the sector at national level.
Sharbel, you know that Elias just said that we need an investment opportunity. We need funds to turn into technology. We need new coming in the agri sector, not only growers, new investors. And I know that USAID contribution to promote technology in the agri-food sector was very good, as you just mentioned before. But I think that somehow it is limited or shy in the agriculture sector. I know that there was the LWP project for hydroponic, which already saved 90% of the water resources. But I'm not seeing any new project targeting directly the agriculture and the private sector. Do you have a new strategy for the upcoming period?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So thank you for this question, Nadine. Basically, I just want to start from a point to move you to our ongoing strategy. What we do throughout our interventions is that we apply something called CLA, which is, in other terms, collaboration, learning, and adapting. So we work along with all our partners and stakeholders, and we try to learn as much as we can from previous activities to move on forward. And we apply this learning in our upcoming interventions. So what I would like to highlight here is that technology innovation, either at the water management level or even at other types of levels of the value chain, are going to be considered as a cross-cutting theme across all our interventions. The most recent activity that we have launched is the agriculture and rural empowerment activity. We are currently assessing the subsectors that we are going to support under this activity. However, we will be dedicating a specific aspect that is called cross-cutting themes. These are themes that vary across all value chain, or that cover several value chains at the same time. These can be at the post-harvesting level, at the level of water management, or at any other level related also to the agricultural production, in terms of practices, in terms of, as you mentioned, hydroponics, maybe other types of technical aspects. But we learned a lot from what we have done previously, and we decided to take these as lessons learned to move forward along, of course, with the private sector, because whenever we invest in something, we want to ensure sustainability, and this sustainability is ensured when someone else invests with us, like the private sector. And you know, because you are coming from a private sector background, so whenever the private sector invests in something, it becomes more sustainable for them and for the community. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, and I liked a lot the idea of CLA, and I hope all the NGOs and the donors, the significant donor, will follow your advice, because it's really crucial about this. So Tessa, after hearing Elias and Charbel talking about the importance of technology, and we know that the people who will transfer the technology are the youth. Now we will see them later on at Agri-Tech and at Clean Tech. How are you planning to motivate youth to stay here and not to emigrate? Because they will be the one who will be implementing this technology. And knowing that migration is a very hot topic on the European agenda. So can you a little bit share with us how the Netherlands or your thoughts about this?
Yeah, thanks, Nadine. With pleasure, I'll do that. I just want to say something about food loss and what Elias has been saying earlier about the need for technology. This is something that we very much share. We need to look at the whole value chain of the food production, and especially post-harvest. Technology like cold storage is incredibly important, as well as marketing, knowing your market and knowing how to do the packaging and all the conditions for export, for instance. So this is something that we work on very closely with the farmers in our program to try to minimize food loss post-harvest. Now about the migration issue, personally, for me, the reason why I love living in the Arab region and working there is just because I really like the Arab region. So for me, the migration is something that I know is on the political agenda in Europe. Personally, I'm more motivated to try to work with partners in the region to improve situations on the ground, especially for youth. Thanks for bringing that up. Just this morning we had a session about green MENA, and Rami from Beritech was one of our inspirational speakers. To talk with youth about creating perspectives for a green and sustainable future in North Africa and the Middle East. And we see a lot of initiatives, young people really being enthusiastic and inspired to take their future course in their own hands and to try to build something that's inclusive, sustainable, and also creates jobs. So what the Netherlands does is we support these initiatives with a couple of we might call them a business booster programs. One is a extremely exciting one, again with Beritech. We're really honored to have them as the lead in a consortium consisting of Beritech, IMWI, Chemonics Egypt, and CWAS, to work with young entrepreneurs, young and female entrepreneurs who offer water and energy efficient food production technology, which could be anywhere along the value chain, and they have the potential to scale up, to reach a larger market, also for farmers as end users, working on like growing their market and growing their business and growing job opportunities as well, while at the same time for end users having providing technology with using less water and less energy. So this is something that we do in the region. Another thing, we have an Orange Corners program. Again, it's a business incubating program. It's more geared at at startups. We for food, water, energy for food that I just mentioned now with the 4 is scale-ups. So we're very much.
But you can talk about this later on with the Q&A question, because I want to hear from Hanya before we close the session. Hanya, because you have a lot of experience with the youth, and how, in your opinion, how to encourage more the youth engagement in technology and in innovation other than Coot and Veritech, and for not to have duplication of efforts, but not to have the same ideas going around.
Not to have the same, I don't think that we have a lot of same ideas, but I think they need to be given also chances to think in a creative way. And I think also they need to be, because they need to have equal access to opportunities. People, you cannot expect all the time people from the rural areas, youth from the rural areas, to just come up with brilliant ideas and not be able to implement them because of lack of finance or others. They need to be on the same wavelength as others, and we really need to work on creation of success stories. This is what inspires. You need leaders, you need sources of inspiration, but you need also to be really equally accessible to everybody. I think this is the key thing. It's just to also give access to the youth that are residing in the rural areas.
Exactly. Let us hear from the audience what they have to ask you. Give me 1 minute to be able to check the chat to know how it works. So the first question is the first question is for Tessa. How does the Dutch government and Agri-Food initiatives make sure to involve small-scale farmers in the region to benefit from improved irrigation methods, knowledge on water scarcity, and technology?
Yeah, thank you very much. Because I can just continue my what I said earlier. So indeed, the small farmers are the ones who we hope will benefit from this We for Food program. That's definitely our target group for end users. And one of the parts of this We for Food program is to make sure that businesses work on finance mechanisms to help smaller farmers actually buy this technology, because it will be challenging for them, or an adventure, if we use that word, to use that technology. So as end users, for sure. Also, we do work with small or maybe mid-range farmers to adopt technologies that are simple and not cost intensive. So using local solutions, as Hanya was saying, local inventions and technology that do not have to cost much, maybe a little bit of seed money, but that they can actually use within their own production system.
Okay, thank you. I will try to answer all your questions, but we have a limited time. So you can still connect with the panelists later on the virtual Agri-Food app to answer all your questions. I have one question for you, Elias. At which level our 1/3 of food is lost?
Actually, it is distributed across different as we call the different chain of the production. So you have in the inputs, you have in the transportation, in the production, transportations and processing, and storage, then you have the waste at the end. It's not easy to give an accurate percentage about the food loss across the value chain, but the importance is to say that we need to look at this very seriously and tackle the different part of the value chain, because all of them are contributing to food loss and waste at different percentage, but they are important.
Thank you, because we had a lot of questions for the food loss. Everybody was interested about it. They were scared about it, I mean. So we have another question stressing the importance of proper organic waste management to protect us from soil erosion and degradation and climate change. What initiatives are you involved in currently, locally and regionally, and are being planned here in Lebanon? So I think Charbel and Hanya can answer these questions.
I'm trying to see where they are.
It is on the booth, on the discussion booth on the panel, not on the Q&A on the Zoom.
Okay.
So, sorry, it is related to organic waste management?
Yes, Charbel.
Okay, Hanya, would you like to go ahead or should I answer?
No, go ahead, because I'm still trying to find the question.
Okay, so as a strategy as a whole, it's I mean, it's not the donor, it's not up to the donor to put a strategy. However, we usually do initiatives in relation to these topics. Like, for example, under all our interventions, we make sure that we are environmentally compliant with the Lebanese law and with the US government law. So basically, we issue environmental compliance documents through which we make sure that organic waste is managed in a way that it can be used in either as an organic fertilizer or as a compost, or in other instances as foodstuff for animals. This is what we do at our level. However, at a higher level, like the Lebanese government level, I would refer you to someone from the Ministry of Agriculture related to this.
So it's a pity Dr. Wafa couldn't join us today, but we can share this question after and to see. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to add on this point. So the issue is not about the technology itself in producing organic matter for soil amendment. It's about the end product cost, because at the end of the day, you are putting a product in the market, whether it is organic or not. So the product should be competitive and affordable for small producers. And that's the importance of, I mean, if we want to introduce a technology, let's say to reduce water, for instance, and improve its efficiency, it has to be directly linked to a better market access or better income for farmers. Because farmers, if they are selling their product at good price and accessing good market, they wouldn't have a problem in investing in small technologies and adopting it. But if you come and tell them, I'm supporting you to increase your water efficiency in tomato production, and it is not significant in terms of the reducing the cost between 1 or 5%, let's say, and then there is no market to sell their tomatoes. Here's the problems of, and here are the dilemmas of adoption. So farmer will not adopt unless there is a good linkages to market, and the solution to better transfer, adaptation, and scale up should come in parallel to a better strategy for the marketing systems in the Arab region. Because if we want to continue in the wholesale market and the untransparent way of selling, this is a determinant factor for technology adoption and use. So we need to see it from this angle. Thank you.
Thank you, Elias. I have a question for, the question is to Mrs. Tessa, but I will ask it to the four of you, but I need a short reply, 3 sentences. Yani. From a European perspective, how can you see the role of academia in motivating the youth to stay and invest in their country? So we will start with Tessa, and then please Hanya, Sherbel, and Elias, I want your also point of view.
Yeah, thanks, Nadine. That's a very important question. I think the academia has a huge role to play to prepare young people for the future, but also to be a place to meet, to interact, to think out of the box, and to get the creativity going. And I think for us as European governments, we're very, very happy to share this knowledge and to facilitate the knowledge sharing between European academia and academia in the region. And we do this very actively. Thank you.
Sherbel.
Thank you for asking this question. Actually, youth is a very important aspect we consider under our portfolios. So basically, we coordinate a lot with academia, and we believe in the important role of academia. I can give you examples of trainings we are doing to university students and fresh graduates currently through our ongoing activities like the Lebanon Investment in Quality. Last week, I have tried, unfortunately, I wasn't able, but they delivered a couple of trainings to university students. And we are about to launch soon a new internship program with esteemed universities to be able to include and incorporate these students and the fresh graduates within our teams, within our project teams. We are expecting to hire around 10 interns per year in order to prepare these young people to be able to enter the workforce in a better equipped package.
Thank you, Sherbel. Hanya, then Elias. Ladies first.
No, I think the universities and academia, they have a really important role in, like Tessa said, planting the seeds of creation, creativity, creative thinking. But I think most importantly is really to continuously challenge these youth to go into new ideas. This is the main thing. This is how you really challenge and you put the youth to be motivated in order to come up with good solutions.
Elias?
I think the question is related to how academia try to transfer the technology and do the proper testing and research on it, and try to transfer the farming to the field level. And at this, in this situation and this context, actually, if we want to talk about the Arab region, the issue is with the extension. So how the link between research and extension services is translated into good extension services for farmers, and the role of technology, and in particular the digital technology in extension services and transferring the output of research to the farmers is very important, but it is still at a primitive stage in the Arab country.
Thank you. I think this is the last question now. We don't have time, a lot of time anymore. The mention of wheat as a staple and the rise of obesity and health brings forward the very important link between high gluten in GMO wheat and its detrimental effect on the cell lining of the intestine, rendering it weak. Are you addressing this worldwide issue that's even more problematic in countries with low economic purchasing power? Thank you. I don't know who can answer this from you, from the panelists.
Actually, yeah, this is a nutrition issue. So it is very specific to the country situation, and that's why we have the so-called nutrition-sensitive agriculture. So at the local system, if this is a problem that is increasing health issues, usually what we call agriculture and health twinning program try to address it. But we cannot say in the Arab region that wheat is as a staple crop is something that we need to replace it, etc. So it is the base of our diet and the source of carbohydrate, etc. So I would see it more a question related to health and nutrition, and the link between it and the technology is related to awareness, how we increase awareness through technology and the dissemination of information to try to prevent health-related issues.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for all the participants and for all the panelists. And please, Sharbil, Ilyas, Tessa, and Hanya, where can we find you online so that the audience can learn more about you and they can interfere more with you? I will also add a sincere note to our ambassador and friend, Mr. Jan Woltmans, and welcome to the new Dutch ambassador, Mrs. Frederique. And I know we don't have a miracle recipe, we don't have a perfect recipe. We know that we are moving toward a huge food security issue, but we need to drive our vision to actions and to do it quickly. And with competent people like you and like the audience and many in the Arab and Lebanon existing, we can do a change. We are the change agents. We are the drivers of the innovation. So I'm looking forward to do something different, something new. As I said before, it's not a miracle recipe, but we have to try. It's our mission and we have to change. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was very interesting.
Thank you, our dear
Thank you. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you, Elias.
Thanks, Nadine. Thanks all.
Thank you for all the panelists.
So it's definitely those challenges are things that we need to tackle in our next batch of agri-tech. Those challenges are not only local, it's regional, even global. The usage of technology is needed, and definitely resource scarcity, not only water, everything needs management, and competition in this sector need to be at the lower. So now, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Aline Psybis. Hello, Aline. Aline is the CEO of ITK, an agri-tech SME based in France. Aline, ITK developed application, decision support tools, and data analysis services for all actors in the agriculture value chain. Aline, thank you for being with us. Aline, please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Hi, Salah, thank you. So first, I'm really so proud to participate today at the Agri-Food Innovation Day. And it's with some emotion also that I participate as being Lebanese myself by birth. So thank you for the invitation. So just very quickly, a little background of myself. So I did my I'm an ag engineer from AUB in Lebanon. I also worked in Lebanon in a USAID program, where with other engineers, we had to convince growers in the Bekaa Valley to shift from cannabis production to corn silage and livestock. Actually, we have to convince them to work 10 times more to earn 10 times less. That was quite a challenge. And as Elias said a few minutes ago, I really felt being on the field that there's a real challenge in bringing all the science that we learned at university to those growers. And okay, we can do it as engineers on the field, but I really had this passion for physics and mathematics that I always had. And that's why I did a master's degree in irrigation and soil science also at AUB. And that's why I decided to do my PhD. I came to France. I absolutely wanted to come back to Lebanon whenever I finished my PhD, but I married a French guy, so I stayed here. And actually, I stayed in research at the beginning, and that wasn't the thing that made me happy to wake up every day and go work. I really wanted to go back to the field and bring all this knowledge we have in science to the field. And that's where I decided to join ITK. ITK was then a startup of 5 people, and we were trying to have decision support tool to help growers reduce their pesticide treatments. I was really excited by this adventure, and it's been 12 years that I'm in this company, where I accompanied it from 5 people when I started, and now 120 people. So at ITK, I managed projects in France, in the US, and then my Phoenician origins came back to surface. I did an executive MBA, was the business developer director of the company, and now the CEO. So actually, I never chose to have this path. It was not an objective from the beginning, but I was motivated from beginning with one belief, actually, is that science and technology can bring a lot of answer to the field in agriculture, and that this transition from mathematical equations behind services to growers can be part of the answer to move agriculture to a more sustainable, productive, environmentally respectful agriculture and decrease risk of growers while taking their decisions. So just to finish with myself, because Rami asked me to talk a little bit of myself, I really stay really humble, especially when talking to people in Lebanon, who are facing a lot of issues. I did what I did because I'm a hard worker, like a normal Lebanese person. There's no place for failure. It's always opportunities to come over the failures, and I'm a rebuilder like every Lebanese. So I don't want my speech to be an incentive for people in Lebanon to say, okay, if we want to do something, we have to leave. I really don't want my speech to be heard this way. So we are rebuilders. So your job is to rebuild. And even if you are anywhere in the world, our mission is to rebuild. So if I want to focus now on agri-tech, so come back to the subject itself, agri-tech can be really broad. We can talk about connected objects, about algorithms, about farm management system, marketplaces, machinery, satellite imagery, irrigation systems. So it can really be very broad. And solutions in agri-tech can be really simple. It can be a sensor in a field that detects a flow meter on an irrigation system. It can be an application saying it's good to plant tomorrow because weather forecast is optimal. I think it can be really a much more complex solution where you have sensors in the field, satellite imagery, algorithms that tells you every day what you have to do. So we don't have to think about agri-tech as always a very complex environment. And for that, I want to give you some examples of solutions that we have at ITK. So we have different segments of solutions. The first one is we provide decision support tools for farmers that help them decide every day, is it the right time to irrigate, to put nitrogen, potassium, and all other fertilizers? Is the plant having health issues? And if I decide today to put nitrogen on my plant, is it economically feasible to put this application? So the tool allows you to test different scenarios of application of practices to see what is their impact on the final yield. And most of all, is my application feasible, economically feasible? Because it's good to increase yield, but if it costs me twice the return, there's no need about putting this application. So this is one type of services that we have that cover most of cash crops and some high value crops like vineyards and fruit trees. The second type of solutions that we have are for livestock. So we have also services not for crops only, but for livestock. So we have the Fitbit for cows that is actually a sensor around its neck that detects on a real-time basis if the cow is in heat and needs to be inseminated. Is the cow ruminating, ingesting, and if its feed ration is adapted? Is the cow in good health? So there's a sensor to monitor temperature. Is the cow about to calve? And would it be a difficult calving? Though, so does the cow need help for that? So actually, all those monitoring of the daily activity of the cow are linked to the milk production, and any action is related to increase milk production. So that's the second type of services that we have. Then we have a third type of services where our model actually is linked to photovoltaic panels above the fields. Actually, our algorithms make the plant say to the panel, I need sunlight. So just turn in order to let the sunlight arrive to me because I need solar energy to grow. Or I don't need the solar energy, so the panel can change orientation according to to sun and generate energy. So that's the third type of application of our services. Let me give you a fourth type, just really to broaden the discussion around what are the possibilities. Actually, we work with insurances because the models that we have are mathematical equations that translate the biophysical processes of the plant. So it's known. We are not inventing anything. Academia published papers there's a lot of innovation that describe the growth of a plant behind which we can put equations, and that's actually what we did. And our models can differentiate between yield loss due to climatic hazard and yield loss due to the fact that the farmer didn't do his job. And actually, we allowed in this way insurances to create policies to ensure yield against climatic hazards. So I can give more examples, but those are mainly the big families of services that we have. So to whom do we sell those services? We don't sell them directly to the farmers. And this also was said in the previous panel. The farmer will not go and buy from a company like us services like this. And it's not only an issue in Lebanon or the Arab world. It's everywhere. US, Europe. It's the same everywhere. So we go through their distributors, their input providers, their insurance companies, their food industry. So the transformation can push to have more traceability on the production. So we don't tackle the farmer itself, but through the different actors of the value chain. And since we are talking to startups and entrepreneurs, this was a business model that made ITK a feasible company since its creation, okay? So a lot of companies in agri-tech are trying to have new services to sell them directly to farmers, and they are not succeeding, even though their ideas and application are great. It's because we believe that that's not the way to reach the market. So now that we've talked about the different possibilities in application in agri-tech, and they are absolutely not exhaustive. And if we go back to the main issue, which is food security, and it's with the crisis that all the world is living today, this crisis made put a higher highlight on food security as being the bottom of the pyramid of Maslow. And if everyone wants to be part of the change towards this food security, everyone shouldn't be only an ag engineer, okay? So when we talk about improvement in the ag sector, we're talking about improving the hybrids, improving the planting practices, the growing practices, harvesting, logistics, stocking, transportation, transformation, conditioning, marketing, selling, eating habits, food waste management, and it was also said recycling, composting, reuse. And I really intentionally enumerate all this so that not only people being in the agriculture field think that they can do something and innovate in the ag-tech sector. What are the skills needed behind? At ITK, we have people skilled in agriculture, math, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, physical modeling, computer science, electronics, marketing, communication, climate, soil, hydrology. And I am a deep believer that collective intelligence is way above individual intelligence. And it's really the multiple skills and the multiple approaches of the problem that makes us at ITK successful until now. And we actually have one point in common, is our passion to our mission. Because beyond being a CEO of a company that needs to have a turnover, I also believe that it's putting in place a place where people can give the best of themselves, and that's how all of the people that are working for this mission can succeed together. If I want to focus now on the food security itself and why I believe that agri-tech is one of the answers actually to improve sustainability of agriculture towards a better food system. I believe that we have to work together towards improving sustainable practices in agriculture. And for that, because I don't want to give big words like this, I want to give an example, and this example is in Lebanon. When I used to work in the Bekaa Valley, the water table was about 8 meters deep. Today, the water table is more than 100 meters deep. Why? Because we never conducted agriculture with a sustainable way, in a sustainable way. We never conducted our practices in a sustainable way. I'm giving an example in Lebanon, but that it can be applied anywhere. Soils in the US are completely losing their fertility because they were exploited. So it's not only a problem in Lebanon, but I'm giving the example of the Bekaa Valley. Our Bekaa Valley is fertile, that's good, okay, but how this fertility can be sustainable in time? How can we change our practices to make sure that we are keeping our soil fertile, regenerate our soils, make sure our water tables are not keep going down, and agri-tech can be an answer for that. We can put sensors, we can control the water table, we can say when the plant needs water so that we only apply water when it's needed and not at noon when half of the water evaporates. So it's a whole system where we can have the answer because innovation is there, science is there. It only needs a vehicle to be applied and push all together to change in production, to have an optimized production per unit land, per unit water, to decrease chemical application, and to regenerate our soils, which are the only way we can stay sustainable in time. Today, ITK has put all their services in US and Europe, but we have started transferring our technology to areas where we have much more smaller farms. So we are now implicated in Kenya in a program at the national level to improve the production of corn in a sustainable way, while recommending practices that increase carbon sequestration in the soil. So we can, even if we go to countries where we can have small farmers, so we don't have big production, we can also apply this technology, help the country reach its food security and help the agriculture stay sustainable. I just want to finish by saying that I'm really eager to hear to listen to the startuppers in a few minutes. And then I want to say that our contribution as ITK is to put in their hands the technology and the innovation that we have already done and are selling in US and Europe in their hands, to try to see if there's any accommodation that can help local agriculture. And I'm here to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Aline. Thank you for the great intervention. And definitely, you are a success story that went abroad, yes, but you will bring a lot of inspiration to the young generation. So we will import a lot of technologies that you talked about to here to invest in the agri-tech, especially in the new agri-tech batch, which is batch 4. So thank you once again for being with us and the inspiring talk. Today, I know that you have been expecting more and more, and we still have a lot more. So our next thing is our panel, our COOT panel. So before going into the COOT panel, I would like to invite you once again to go to the digital platform, a feed digital platform, where investors, experts, startups are there, are sharing information, are sharing articles, are giving their opinion, are answering questions. So I invite you again to go on the link that we are sharing with you and join a feed virtual network. And there will be a lot of exciting news to you. So now, before going to our next panel, let's have a short video about COOT, the food innovation cluster in Lebanon.
In a very short period of time, we were able to become 40 members. We were able to sign MOUs with universities, to be a member of the European Cluster Collaboration Plan, and to receive a label from the European Cluster. The aim of COOT is kind of to create a new culture in Lebanon, a culture based on sharing, a culture based on connecting, sharing our know-how and our knowledge, sharing our experience and expertise, sharing our challenges, sharing our resources, and connecting with academia, with public sector, connecting with research centers, with the NGOs, with the investors, with the bank, in order to have a healthier and sustainable community and economy. It's a roadmap for a stronger, healthier, sustainable, more effective, and more greener economy.
It's important to note that we have 45 COOT members today in this cluster, and all of those members are ready to help and assist the ecosystem. Now, let me introduce our next moderator, Dr. Rodrigue Bal'a, the chairperson of Department of Agriculture Engineering Technology at Issam Fares Faculty of Technology of the University of Balamand, who will be leading the panel. Doctor, the panel is on and it's yours.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. Usually I'm not that blue, but I think I have a small technical problem. So welcome everyone to the second discussion panel at the Virtual Agri-Food Innovation Day 2020, organized by Veritech and COOT Cluster. This event is part of the Act Smart Innovation Hub initiative by Veritech. It's co-funded by the Kingdom of the Netherlands to strengthen business advancement, economic growth, and job creation in the agri-food and clean tech sectors in Lebanon. So a big thanks to you all for your e-presence, to the Embassy of the Netherlands for its generous support, to the amazing teams of Veritech and COOT for their passion, for their commitment. So it has been said, I'm Rodrigue Bal'a. I'm the chair of the Department of Agricultural Technology at the Issam Fares Faculty of Technology, University of Balamand. I'm also a national expert on agricultural value chain. And I'm delighted to moderate this panel with people I deeply respect and who are making an amazing impact on the agri-food value chain. Through this panel discussion titled Cluster-Driven Circular Economy, we will try to answer two essential questions. The first one, will the financial crisis reinforce the implementation of circular economy principles? And the second one is about the role of clusters in catalyzing this this thing. So let's look together for the silver lining in this huge cloud we're living under, along with our esteemed panelists. Without further ado, allow me to present the people that will lead us into their bright minds and share their experiences in the agri-food value chain. Please join me in welcoming Hammam Samad. Hammam Samad is currently the executive strategist of Lama Foods in the Gulf regions. His endorsement into research, engineering, and sciences did not hinder his interest in economics and data analysis. We also have Jamil Haddad. Jamil is the founder of Colonel Project, a microbrewery that produces and fosters the culture of high-quality craft beer on a green platform in the heart of Batroun City. Also, Lucia Seal, who has more than 16 years of experience in international innovation and cluster policies and management. She started her own consultancy company in 2011 for supporting international cooperation in the field of innovation and clustering. Nadim Abdou is the programs director at Arc-en-Ciel, Lebanon's largest independent social enterprise. He's a board member of the Lebanese Federation of Youth Hostels, vice president of Ecolodge Association, founding member of the Lebanese Social Enterprises Association, and board member of Les Scouts du Liban. And last but not least, Soha Atallah, who's an international industrial expert with extensive experience in industrial development, packaging, marketing, and food safety, throughout the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia. She's the founder of Liban Pack, the Lebanese Packaging Center. Before starting our discussion, kindly note that there will be a 15-minute period for your questions to the panelists. You can add them to the platform. The link will be shared on the chat screen. And a wrap up by Lucia on the European experience in cluster support for circular economy and a few recommendations for the Cood cluster on the subject. Two small definitions I'd like to share with you to clarify our discussions. First one is about circular economy. As per the World Economic Forum definition, a circular economy is an industrial system that is restorative or regenerative by intention and design. It replaces the end-of-life concept with restoration, shifts toward the use of renewable energy, eliminates the use of toxic chemicals, which impair reuse and return to the biosphere, and aims for the elimination of waste through the superior design of materials, products, systems, and business models. A second definition is the clusters, who should be considered regional ecosystems of related industries and competences featuring a broad array of inter-industry interdependencies. They're defined as group of firms, related economic actors, and institutions that are located near each other and have reached a sufficient scale to develop specialized expertise, services, resources, suppliers, and skills. So let us start with our first question for all the panelists. And we'll try to answer these questions by alphabetical order. I will start, of course, with Hammam. Hammam.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. My first question is, how does your company work with circular economy and circular transition? And what kind of impact do you have, or does your work have, on circular economy and transition?
Good day, everyone. It's first of all a great pleasure to be part of this discussion today. To cut it straight to the point, from a business perspective, it is of great necessity to cover the main gaps and close the loops among different players and across different value chains in Lebanon to reach and optimize the economy and adopt a circular flow mindset. As for Lama, we have tens of different production streams, from packaging fruits, vegetables, and the production of authentic food products. And eventually, these production streams will end up with different forms of waste. Usually, these forms of waste are products that didn't meet international standards for export, and we used to send them to the wholesale market. But today, we are looking forward to cooperate with different enterprises all over Lebanon to create value from these forms of waste. I can give you a series of examples about what we're doing. We have tens of tons of consumption of grapes every single week. 3 to 5% of these grapes are don't meet international standards. So we're sending them to a company called Grapeful. They are producing different forms of grape derivatives, such as grape molasses, grape syrups, grape vinegars, and protein bars derived from grape molasses. And they're being exported abroad to create an added value to the economy and to the end customer, and they're acting as a source of influx of fresh money to this country. Another example, we have an immense consumption of fresh almonds and fresh walnuts. We export them all abroad, but we ironically import their dried forms, dried almonds and dried walnuts, because they're cheaper. Ukrainian walnuts cost around $3.7 when they come from abroad. They cost in Lebanon, if we need to produce them in-house, around $6. So what we're trying to do today is using these damaged forms or unqualified forms of walnuts and almonds to produce their dried forms and eventually is stone fruits. We have also tons of consumption of stone fruits, and they're all being exported. The damaged forms of these stone fruits are being eventually sent to households in Rashaya to produce an authentic, high-end, natural, and qualified product. Households in Rashaya are very famous for producing natural, dried products. One other example is, creating value from waste shouldn't only be monetary value. It could be value that could get back or give back to the community. We have around 100 kilograms every single day of vegetables that don't meet international standards. Instead of selling them in the wholesale market, we're trying to package them in different forms, 1 kilo with a different variety of different vegetables, and they're being sent to 100 families in northern Lebanon because their purchasing power is eventually very low, and they couldn't afford it. There's one example or one startup that Kut or Beritek mentioned, I forgot which one. They were talking about the production of biofuel from biomass. We have a high product turnover of biomass, and we are seeking this opportunity forward if it would be viable in Lebanon to produce biofuel from biomass. And yeah, so basically it's all kinds of fruits and vegetables that are damaged and don't meet international standards. We're trying to reach a point where we can use these forms of waste to create an added value either through us or through other enterprises across the value chain.
Yes, thank you, Hammam. Nadim, you guys are champions of circular economy. If you can share with us your experience for quite a couple of minutes.
Sure. Thank you, Rodrigue, and thank you, Beritek and the Kut cluster for this opportunity. It's my pleasure to present Arc-en-Ciel. Arc-en-Ciel works in the different sectors, and let me focus on the specific activity in our agricultural domain in the Bekaa and Tanayil. We have an operation in agriculture. So in our farmland, we do produce most of the cow feed that we need in our farm. So to reduce the dependency on import in the cow feed. And this product goes into our cow farm for the production of our dairy products. And at the end, whatever organic waste that comes out of the farm is again processed into organic fertilizer that will go again in the farmland. So in that respect, we try to maximize our resources. So economically, it is very much appealing to have less dependency on imports in raw material. Environmentally as well, we're reducing our carbon footprint in importing raw products. And also socially, and this is the dimension Arc-en-Ciel as a social entrepreneur adopting this model, we do also favor disfavored people in our workforce. So that has a social dimension as well. So under this circular economy title, we try as much as possible to optimize the resources at hand. Over.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nadim. Jamil, while we were preparing for this panel, we've discussed a couple of ideas you've been doing at Colonel Bir. If you can share them with us. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Hello. Now it's working.
Yes. Great.
Okay. So thank you, Rodrigue. Before I start, I think I want to call this crisis management opportunity management or financial opportunity. I think now since 100 years, this is the first time we're having that much big opportunity to make our country in the right direction in a sustainable way. And what we're having right now is with all what is happening with the exchange rate and the problems that we're getting in the country, this is where we're gonna get the best opportunity. I think that opportunities comes or when there is a need, and now we have a need in this country. In terms of Colonel Beer or what I'm producing or what I'm doing, to be more specific and to give more ideas. So we've been, like shipping glasses from outside the country to fill our bottles or our products. And now, since the crisis started, I wanted to keep my prices like more reasonable. So what I did is, as fast solution, is that you bring your empty bottle and then you fill it at the bar and you pay half price because half of the price is in the glass. So now more by bringing your bottle, your empty bottle, you fill it, you're paying less. At the same time, you're becoming more eco-friendly and you're refilling bottles in, I'm talking about the beer, I'm talking about the gin that I produce, the vodka and the arak. So anyone now, you see people like queuing with their empty bottles to fill them at the bar. This is one of the ideas that I'm doing. Now now it's more actually because of the crisis or because of what's happening. Now it's more profitable to produce in Lebanon than to ship from over the seas. So now we are looking, as we talked to Hammam before and others, like now we are considering that everything we have to create product out of it, because now our cost became cheaper. So now the waste that we have makes more sense now to use it and to produce another products out of it. Now, let's say we're talking about the waste that they have, how much we have waste on a daily basis in terms of fruits or vegetables. And do you know, like, how much do we need, like, alcohol that comes from the leftover of the fruits or the sugar that it is in it? And imagine we used to ship everything from outside, and now look, we can produce out of it alcohol that is now way more cheaper than imported it from outside. And I can talk about several projects, and we're going to continue in the future talking about too many ideas that we have, that not only we are growing the business, we're making our country more eco-friendly and more sustainable.
Fantastic. One thing's for sure, I'm bringing my empty bottles to you to fill them up. As you said, we all need alcohol these days.
We need alcohol when we're happy and when we're not. So always we need alcohol.
Definitely. Lucia, may we have your insight?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Well, what I can speak of is from the perspective on clusters, how clusters can support their members embrace the circular economy approaches. And as you described, or you gave the definition of clusters, I think here the key role is being played by the cluster organization like Pod. And clusters being a coordinated initiative, bringing together, the academia, the companies, and the public sector. So they have clusters powered by the cluster organizations, managed by the cluster organization. They have an important role. Why is that? Because they're able to effectively promote the circular economy approaches and business models across their members, given particularly the existing relationships and the trust that that is out there among the cluster members. You can convince them easier if you have, already a given experience, a past experience of collaboration within the cluster, where all these approaches have been tested in various ways, and now you can bring in the new circular economy activities inside. As well, cluster organizations, they are best positioned to understand the needs of their SMEs, to understand particularly here relevant for the circular economy, the value chains that are crucial, They can cluster organizations can connect the different stakeholders, raise awareness of the social economy, of the circular economy needs, and they can also identify and support their SMEs members have access dedicated to funding. You asked me very quickly about some examples. Well, I can give an Austrian example where the clean tech cluster of Austria, for example, has a dedicated kind of a task force, a circular economy innovation initiative. It's a service package for the members where they can benefit from workshops, from collaborative projects, analysis of material efficiency, and so on. So this is a concrete example on how such organization can trigger the movement towards circular economy among their members.
Thank you, Lucia. Soha, well, we kept you waiting long enough, but we're more than eager to listen to your input. But you just need to unmute yourself first.
Thank you for reminding me to unmute myself. All, I'm very happy to be with you guys. Thank you, Rodrigue. Thank you, Jihan. Thank you, Beritek, for organizing such a nice webinar to talk about circular economy. Well, as you know, I'm a packaging expert and I'm talking on behalf of Libanpack. You know, packaging is a key issue for all your work, whether agriculture, industrial, anything. So packaging is a diagonal in everything. And packaging has a key role in sustainability. First of all, packaging, the most important role of packaging is the protection of the product. And when we talk the product, especially perishable agro-food and food product, is to avoid food waste. So this is where packaging plays an important role in avoiding waste. The most important role of a circular economy is to avoid waste and to give value to the material to be usable as much as possible. And here comes the role of packaging. Us as Libanpack, what we are doing in this is to really advise the SME. We give consultancies to Lebanese, Arab, and other companies around the world on sustainable packaging, how to design our packaging to be sustainable. When we are talking about sustainable, many people think that we are talking only about the environment. The first role is the food waste, because there's many mistakes about that we reduce the packaging material to take care about the environment, but we forget the food itself, because with lack of appropriate packaging material, then we have food waste, and then we have waste, which is also waste, because people nowadays are concentrating on plastic and all of this. First of all, let's concentrate on the food, because without the proper packaging material, then we will have it, because food waste is also as waste as the packaging material as it is. So our first role is to advise the SME to choose the appropriate packaging material for their food, to make sure that the shelf life is adequate. And here comes the role of packaging to extend the shelf life of food. Second, to reduce as much as possible the packaging material. And third, to choose packaging material that is can be recyclable and can be biodegradable to generate energy and all of this. So here comes the role of Libanpack in these 3 steps. We call it the reuse, reduce, and recycle.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Soha. Well, we've promised everyone that we will be looking for the silver lining in this cloud we're having right now in Lebanon. So my next question for you guys is, how does this crisis we're living in is affecting your circular economy approach? Does it bring more challenges, or does it bring more opportunities? So if we can share this with our people, it would be fantastic. Hammam?
Yes, Rodrigue. Actually, this economic downturn was an opportunity for everyone. It wasn't a challenge, it was an opportunity for us to discover the mutual concerns and mutual interests of enterprises all over Lebanon. It is a necessity to be able to create value from different forms of waste available, especially that we need to reach a time where we can optimize resource flow management and optimize the usage of waste available with all of us. We usually used to adopt a linear economy in Lebanon. We used to produce, discard, and things were going fine. Today, it is a necessity for all of us to be able to make use of waste to create value, whether through us, through each of our enterprises, or through collaborations between different enterprises in different clusters, like the Koot cluster in Lebanon. For me, I think it wasn't a challenge. It was an opportunity. It opened up and brightened up the scope of thinking towards a more circular flow rather than thinking of a linear economy, which would be no longer viable in this country.
Yes, fantastic. Jamil, how about you?
For me, I think that anyway, whatever you do in your life, and especially in the industrial sector, there is challenges every day, even in the crisis or without crisis. So the challenges are a daily life for anyone that is working in the industrial sector. Yes, we are having a new type of challenges during this crisis, or what we're having in the last year, either if we talk about the COVID or about the financial crisis and the revolution and all this. So definitely, I think that we have challenges as much as we got new opportunities. I will give you a very small example. Like my gin bottle used to be 35,000 Lebanese pounds, and other like competitive prices were at 30, 32 imported, which I'm producing it local, but I couldn't make it cheaper than that. And now, after a year from the crisis, now we are talking that my bottle is now at 44,000, 45,000, and the imported is at 140,000. So we are talking on a different level. So I'm more competitive right now, but of course the challenge right now is to protect enough amount of US dollars to buy my raw materials or the ones I need from outside with hard currency. So this is a big challenge for me as someone in the industrial sector, for sure. But at the same time, we have to be also realistic and not just complain or nag about the situation.
Yes.
Because we all know that the production cost that you need from outside is, worst case scenario, we're talking about 30%. So you need to cover 30% of your cost by US dollars, and the rest, we're talking about energy, you're talking about salaries, taxes, social security, blah, 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 all this. So all the others is in Lebanese pound, which became way cheaper right now. And we still need to always cover the hard currency, which is the 30%. So if you know how to manage our business and we balance between getting enough US dollars to cover this and how we can grow and how we can produce more and to control more the country, or to control more the business in the country through a local production, I think now there is a big opportunity. And everyone in this country that is afraid from getting a job in the future, I believe that no, it's not true. But now we are moving from artificial businesses and fake businesses into sustainable and long-term businesses. And the best way, other than tourism in Lebanon, it's, if we have to talk about the long-term businesses, we have to think in the industrial sector. We have to stand with the industrial sector and the agriculture sector. And this is the way how we have to think. And the people that they are working in the banking sector or other sectors, we need them in the industrial sector. We need them in the land. We need them on the ground to be with us and to work with us to make the country better for the coming 10 years.
Well, amen to that. Lucia, do you think there are some opportunities within these challenges we're facing currently in Lebanon?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think this is a fact. We all have a scarcity of resources, and whenever people are confronted with such acute situations right now, creativity should come into place. Creativity for innovation. The chance for and the opportunities for the circular economy is that it reached a higher or an acceleration in being, let's say, or in the awareness raising, both of at the public level, but as well at the policy level. What we see in Europe right now with the Green Deal and all the focus on the circular transformation and the green transformation of the economy, together with the digitalization and the resilience approaches in place, it shows that there is a development that we could have not have foreseen, not even maybe half a year or 1 year ago. Where I see the chances is, for example, in the innovation, in the innovative approaches brought up towards circular economy is digitalization, and as well the cross-sectorial approach, looking beyond just the agri-food sector. And like so I was speaking before, when we are talking about plastic sector, this is the collaboration between agri sector and the not just the plastics, but the packaging sector, where you have here materials in place. You're having plastics, you're having metal, you're having glass, you're having paper, yes. And as well you're having the digital solutions, where you can, first of all, identify along the value chain who are the producers out there, who are the ones producing the waste that can be used as a resource for the other company. And here is the role of the cluster organizations to be able to understand these value chains, to identify what each company has to put, let's say, on the circular economy market, and create the links, the bridges between these companies.
Thank you, Lucia. Nadim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rodrigue. So definitely I consider this as an opportunity today, as well as my colleagues were saying. And let me give a couple of examples. Take, for example, biogas. So the scale of our enterprises is small enough not to allow us to produce, each by oneself, an operation viable enough. So we need to pool our resources in the clustering of activities to be able to achieve a viable production on a large scale. Exactly as compost production, for example, if you want to go for the top grade of a single stream compost from organic waste, we need to have a pooling of resources. So I think it's an opportunity, definitely. It's no longer a choice. It is a necessity to pull the resources together and not work in silos, but rather coordinate our activities to come up with the best optimized solution today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadim. Suha, let's have it.
Yes, I don't want to repeat what the other colleagues have mentioned, but for sure it's an opportunity. And for crisis, we have to define what crisis, because we have a lot of crises, COVID and financial and
crises,
the explosion and everything. But yes, our economy was not doing well because of lack of strategies. Our economy in Lebanon was more driven by the services sector. And as Jamil was saying, before this, we had the trade balance was really drifted more to the import. So for the productive sectors in Lebanon and for the Lebanese people and the Lebanese politicians, this crisis showed the importance of investing in productive sector, whether the industry or the agriculture sector. There was a gap in our economy. We were always relying on the imports for our food, for agriculture, even for basic needs. So I think it's a lot of opportunity for the local industries to invest more in the agriculture sector, especially with this great gap between the prices of the imported and the Lebanese products. So we need to have a lot of import substitution. And what I'm happy with it is the culture in Lebanon, especially after the crisis. People are more now drifted to buy Lebanese products because they are thinking that they are supporting their industries and all of them. This is regarding the economy. Another thing regarding the economy is also the foreign labor. in Lebanon, in most of our productive sector, especially agriculture and industry, we depend on foreign laborers. And this is also a gap because let's face it, as a Lebanese, most of us, we want our kids to focus on business, on law, to become lawyers, architects, doctors. And there's a gap also in our system is that we don't invest in vocational schools. And that's why I come from the industrial sector. We always need technical skills. We need electricians, we need mechanical engineers and all of this, and we don't find, especially for the agriculture sector, even for the harvesting, we need Lebanese people and we don't find. That's why we depend on the foreign labor. So now with the issue of the dollar now and that the foreign labor wants dollar, we are more oriented to have Lebanese labor. And now the Lebanese labor will be will be obliged because we need money now because of the crisis to work and to invest more in this technical skills that the productive sectors need. Another thing is an opportunity for cluster development. I worked in many projects and we try to integrate this cluster development mentality, and we were always have these obstacles of the individualistic cultures of Lebanese people.
Mm-hmm.
They all think of themselves. They don't think of the community as it is. So I really hope that this crisis will make people work together, will make people also for the circular economy to share utilities, to share generator, to share resources and all of this as other countries are doing. Now, regarding the COVID, if you want to talk about the COVID and the impact on the COVID, there's also an impact on innovation and packaging. Now, after COVID, people have concerns, and packaging is a type of marketing. We really need to respond to consumer needs. And the first thing in consumer need is to digital. Packaging needs to be digital, need to be connected. Now, most of us, we are buying our groceries and our food with totters or other applications. So our packaging should be designed to be digital, to be connected. And also after COVID, people, they feel that they are responsible of what is going on. And there is also a trend more for sustainable packaging and recycled material. And consumers, not in Lebanon, around the world, it has been proven that they are willing to pay for a sustainable packaging. So I hope that this also make the Lebanese SMEs to invest more in sustainable packaging.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Suha. Well, we have like a million questions on the platform, but I really need to ask you this final question because it's really important. All of you guys or most of you are members of the Coot cluster. So the major issue here is how can the cluster, be it Coot or any hypothetical cluster, how can clusters support their members, which are you, to embrace circular economy approaches within the current situation? Hammam?
Yes, Rodrigue. Actually, I believe the agricultural sector in Lebanon could create a perfect case scenario for circular economy. We produce all kinds of fruits, all kinds of vegetables, all kinds of basic foods, except for BIM, which is the source of coffee, cacao, and some exotic fruits. A Coot cluster could act as an intermediate or as a platform to allow the collaboration and cooperation that could happen between different entities and enterprises all over Lebanon to use forms of waste in one company as a source of raw material in another company and create an added value product to be exported and allow the influx of fresh money. I believe that Coot cluster, if we know how to optimize our resources and allow the communication and the collaboration between different enterprises under this cluster, we'd be able to optimize resource flow and reach a time where the field of exports, which is the only source of viability for this country, could go higher, which will in turn limit the trade balance gap and increase Lebanon's nominal GDP. And I think that would be a great initiative from the Coot cluster.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hammam. Jamil?
Yep.
What's your say about that?
I think that definitely we have a lots of opportunities together through the cluster by exchanging our know-how, our resources, our waste, and what we are producing, and how we can collaborate. And I'm sure, and I can assure you that we can create tons of products from just our waste if we know how to collaborate together. And we can spread this mentality first and the culture of teamwork, as we can make it as a model in the cluster to make it on a national level.
Fantastic, fantastic. Lucia, you'll have your wrap-up note at the end, but if you can give us a couple of ideas right now, that would be great as well.
First of all, I would like to tell Soha, this is not something typical for the Lebanese companies, their individualism and their individual approach or behavior. This is something that is typical everywhere. What happens is you need to develop, these companies within a clusters need to develop trust through the facilitation of interactions made by the cluster organizations like Food. And this takes time. So this is the something you cannot jump over this process of trust establishing. But once you have it, you have like the golden how shall I say, a golden pipeline for development, for innovation in the sector. Another suggestion that comes to my mind hearing or listening to your approaches would be to communicate. So if the cluster implements circular economy approaches, it should be very highlighted in the communication efforts the cluster make. Soha said consumers are really aware of the needs and willing to pay more for something that is sustainable. And the role of the cluster is to make all these efforts, all these interactions, all these developments and innovation happening within a cluster in relation to the circular economy highly visible, both to the consumers, the public level, as well as to the policy level. This is not to be neglected, because I saw there are some questions always about funding, and indeed the cluster organization can bridge this level and transport the needs of the companies to the policy level and make them better understand and develop the tools. And as well is the academia, because I saw there was a question about the role of academia in the cluster. Academia is related always to research, innovation, but often there is a different language that the academia speaks than the language of the entrepreneurs of the. And indeed here, the cluster organization, they can bring them around the table. They can put the very specific needs that the company has. I mean, a small company, how can they go to a university and say, I have this problem? It's very difficult to identify the person I should talk to. And since the cluster organization brings all these actors together, that's how they can support. Thank you.
Great, great. Now, Nadim, if you can tell us a bit, how do you see the coordination or collaboration between different COOT members?
Yes, sure. I mean, 3 dimensions. I see it in 3 dimensions. First, it has been mentioned, the raw material, or even waste that could be used by all cluster members to optimize the resources. The second dimension, which is the expertise, know-how transfer, collaboration, RDI, everything in that respect. But the third dimension, the most important in our sense as well, is the commercialization. So collaborating in, you being able to sell products. And a couple of initiatives Arc-en-Ciel is still pursuing. One is the farmers market, where we open our domain and other centers for farmers to come and sell their produce, and also the Beit al-Muzaria as a platform for the commercialization of local products done by different farmers under specific health and hygiene practices that we oversee. So again, yes, with Jamil and Hammam and others, we are ready to offer our premises also for people to come and benefit from the different points of sale that we can all benefit from. Put our, as Jamil was explaining, maybe selling by bulk or reusing packages, etc., just to reduce the costs and try to encourage people to change their practices. We should no longer, throw away the containers and packages. We should really think a lot and reuse all packaging that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadim. So how do you think you guys can collaborate?
First of all, we are happy to be in Coot cluster. And I really liked one word used by Jamil, exchanging waste. This is really important because waste is the gold, really. And we underestimate the value of our waste. So really, it's important to exchange waste among us and for sure to exchange our experience, our knowledge. I think every one of us is member of many organization, like Libanpack is a member of the World Packaging Organization. So we put at your disposal our experience in packaging and how to avoid food waste and how to really generate waste and to choose the right packaging material that should be sustainable. Now, regarding the culture, regarding Lucia, yes, you're right. It takes time. And that's why there's always, we say, whenever you want to introduce any change in any company or in any cluster or community, you will face resistance to change. So I hope that us in this Coot cluster, we will work on increasing the awareness and to change the culture to be more like a teamwork, to cooperate all together for the sake of our community and for the sake of the Lebanese economy, and also to increase the culture about the waste management. Let's not put we always now whenever we talk, there's this now campaign against plastic and all of this. I'm not a fan of plastic, but it makes me really laugh because the problem is not with the plastic. The problem is with the people. The problem is with the littering. The problem is with people who are throwing away plastic in the rivers and in the nature and in the lack of waste sort management. Sometimes plastic is needed for the extending of the shelf life. So, if we can avoid it, it's okay. But if we cannot avoid it, the problem is not with the plastic itself. The problem is waste management. So really, we need to improve the awareness. This is an important role of Coot to increase the awareness among these issues. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Soha. Well, I have like 1,000 questions here, so I'll try to cover as much as possible. So if you guys want to look as well on the platform, we need to cover as much as possible and leave for Lucia like 5 minutes so she can wrap up. And if she can give me at the end just a couple of sentences to say before closing. So the first question is from Philippe Rahbe. It's for Jamil, and if we can keep our answers as short as possible, so we can answer as much as possible. Jamil, what kind of alcohol do you produce, and from which fruits do you produce other end products in a circular way? And thanks to Agri-Raw products, fruits and vegetables.
Okay, so basically, I tried since last year, since the problem. I used to buy neutral alcohol like anyone else in Lebanon by importing, but since a year right now, we're still like trying to get as much as we can sugar from waste, and we've been trying to collect fruits like it can be the best for us apple, as I see behind you, Rodrigue. The apples, we know as we have a lot of apples and waste in apples, yes, exactly. So apples can be a good solution, and anything that contain sugars as berries or whatever. But this is a project to work on and to transfer or to move from buying grain alcohol from outside into fruits alcohol from Lebanon.
Great, thank you, Jamil. And here's another question. I think it was posted on the chat screen, and then the team put it on Zoom. This question is for Jamil Abdo, for Nadim Abdo. It's from, I think, our colleague, Dr. Rima Manni from the University of Balaman. How do you perform your carbon footprint?
Yes, it's a complex formula having to, the transportation, the power generation, the choice of raw material. It's a complex formula that we're still working on, but in just to simplify, it's the choice we have to make. If we have a choice between importing from far away or local products, power generation, we're relying a lot on solar panels for power generation in our farm. Today, there are some days where we have really zero consumption. We put on the grid back. So it is a complex formula, but we're still refining it.
Great, Nadim. And this question, I think as well from Dr. Rima, it's specifically for Jamil. Are you open for collaboration with universities regarding circular economy?
I think this is what we have to do. We've been chatting before, Rodrigue, I was chatting with you, and we mentioned this, the thing. I think that all universities should collaborate with all the industries in Lebanon to not only to help them, but to help their students to become more to get more into the technical side and the reality that we face on a daily basis. And I believe that if we want to really work to innovate and to grow and create innovation in the country, we need the university to stand with us, to collaborate and to grow together. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us.
Sure, definitely. And as we said earlier, we're really open to collaborate with Jamil, with Nadim, with everyone from Koot cluster. And here's another one for Suha Atallah. Do you provide foil lid in Lebanon?
Libopac, we are not a factory, yeah? We are, we cooperate with all the packaging industries in Lebanon. But yes, we have foil lid. Not us at Libopac, there is a factory who produce this in Lebanon.
Another question to you, Suha, from Philippe Rahbe. In what extent your packaging helped to reduce food waste? What kind of material do you use to develop shelf life?
Well, this is a question, an important question, but there's no single material that is important for shelf life. It depends on the product. Every product has a data sheet, depending on the specification of the product, whether we're talking agriculture, whether we're talking food, even in agriculture, whether we're talking apple or cherries. So we cannot generalize the suitable packaging material for all the products. We have to study our products very well. We have to study its ingredient and everything to define the right packaging material for shelf extension.
Thanks, Suha. Another question from the chat. As a food technology master student, what's the best way to gain work experience? And what advice can you give for continuing on a research path? Who would like to answer this question?
I will answer. Internship.
Paid internships?
No, paid or unpaid. For example, me, I started my career with 6 months unpaid internship with the UN. So internship is really important. Theoretical practices is something, but really when you have experience on the ground and at work, professional experience is very important. So internship and training with industries is very important, and agriculture.
Hammam, do you have anything to say about this?
Actually, career endorsement doesn't only require academic skills or intellectual skills. It also requires, in the days we're living today, emotional skills. We're living today, we're sitting on the laptop, everything is being very robotized. It's a necessity for all of us to have this kind of emotional interaction between each other and put ourselves in someone else's shoes to reach our goal. Today, big techs all over the world, they don't want you to be smart enough to count numbers. They want you to be smart enough, or if you want, smooth enough to convince the customer on a specific product. They want you to be cooperative, communicative, and basically emotionally intelligent. Because today, basically, robots are replacing us in everything we do. So the only thing that would differentiate us from robots is being emotionally intelligent enough to sell ourselves, to sell our expertise, to sell our what we do, and That's it basically from my side. That's all I can say. It's about EQ, not IQ today.
So you were trying to say something?
No, yes, I was trying to use the word emotional intelligence. When we was talking about emotional, it's called emotional intelligence. As he said, it's very important. It's about empathy, and it's about really your communication skills and how to understand your client. So no, I endorse what Hammam was saying.
So it's about the human interaction.
It's called emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You can read more about it now. There's a lot of books on emotional intelligence. So yes, as Hammam said, we advise our fresh graduates to focus more on this aspect.
Fantastic. Here's another question from Lara Hussein. Beyond producers and consumers, such as households, F&B companies, and supermarkets produce a lot of organic waste. From your experience, what simple, low-cost, and effective solutions can you suggest to reduce or manage organic waste from a circular economy perspective? I think Nadeem might have something to say about this.
I'll have something too when Nadeem finishes.
Sure.
We need to differentiate between single stream compost and multiple stream. So regular municipal organic waste cannot be considered as compost. At best, they can be processed into landscaping, but single stream compost could be very much beneficial. So sorting at source is essential in this respect. We can develop further this, as a side discussion, but interesting to pinpoint this matter.
Thank you, Nadeem. Hammam?
Actually, we have an immense production of bio-waste in Lebanon because we're a country that produces a variety of different types of food. I can relate to an experience of a friend of mine in Bika. He's producing compost from biomass at a rate of $60 while it's being imported from abroad at a rate of $300. He filters out I can give you the number if you need. He's filtering out he's fermenting them for 2-3 months, filtering them out, and then adding phosphate and phosphorus, phosphate and potassium to create a successful form of compost at a rate of $60 only, while it's being imported from abroad at a rate of 250% higher, which is $300. If you can support this initiative, we can eradicate the import of compost from abroad, and in turn limit or drag down the trade balance gap.
Thank you, Hammam. We have another. It's not a question actually. It's a comment from Asma Zanni. If it would be possible to share your email addresses on the chat or on the platform for the panelists. It's totally up to you guys. Another question from Zoom: what are the main challenges in order for importance for the local producers / SMEs to grab any potential opportunities? Is it funding, hard currency, export market, talent, local economy, or public resources? I think I will be using this question as the final exam for my students. Lucia, can you answer this in a minute or so?
Maybe I could try to answer this question as well in wrapping up in one shot.
Sure.
I think from the perspective of clusters, myself and a lot of European stakeholders are already convinced that clusters work and that they demonstrated, their ability to support the SMEs, to innovate, to go international, and to increase their competitiveness. What I would recommend is going very strongly into the understanding and identifying of the actors across the value chains. When we are speaking here about who produces this waste and who can use this waste, this is a key element in this circular economy intelligence and making it work. When we are speaking about bio waste, we can go as well asking ourselves, or you can ask the question, is it suitable for energy production? So going into a different sector, and also the cluster should be able to go beyond their just limited areas, industrial areas of the sectors, but cross-link, cross-fertilized with other industries. the clusters can accompany and should accompany their members, the SMEs, to change their business models. How can they do that? Is by scouting both in the country, but also increasingly at the international level, at European level, on how others can do it. Let's not forget that you should not reinvent the wheel. And also in Europe, there is a big differentiation between North and South, East and West, into the acceptance and implementation of circular economy models. If we're thinking of the forerunners, the Nordic countries, and if I'm thinking of the Eastern Europe, there are huge differences out there, but there is also the opportunity of not having to reinvent what the Nordics could do, but learn at the current stage where they are and and with that knowledge, see what can be adapted to the circumstances, to the framework conditions existing in a country. Clusters can identify funding. That means opening doors to other new markets, whether new markets meaning in different sectors or new markets speaking internationally, geographically speaking. I was talking earlier about scouting for information. I would put afterwards or in the chat some links to very interesting European studies. There is the European Resource Efficiency Center also that will be merged together with the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. And here you can find the very interesting studies, particularly on how clusters can support members' transition to the circular economy. From Denmark, there is an interesting study as well on the role of clusters in the transition to circular economy. As well, a suggestion would be to connect with the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. So there is a need for the clusters to act internationally, but also never forgetting the needs of the local economy, of the regional economy, of the national economy. And a final word coming back again to the skills, to the culture, to the attitude. You need to educate both the companies and as well promote, raise the awareness at the public level as well. Being in a network is always giving in a network in order to be able to take out of the network. And with this approach, I think everybody is asked right now to contribute to such an implementation. That would be from my side, I think, a little wrap up as well with some recommendations for acting next. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Lucia. I will read rapidly the remaining questions on the platform. However, there are also many questions on the chat. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover everything. It's an extremely interesting subject with extremely interesting people. But I invite everyone, all the attendees, to post their questions on the platform. If the guys from COOT can share the link again on the chat. And I believe that panelists will be able to answer them eventually. So Bahi Ghubril asks, what are the main challenges in order of importance for the local producers, SMEs, to grab any potential opportunities? Is it funding, hard currency, export market, talent, local economy, public resources? Is another question for the final exam, my students. Another one from Joel Nader. Are you willing to collaborate with universities and provide funds? Okay, I think they are willing to collaborate, but the interesting part is to provide funds for research projects related to emerging technologies. Everyone from COOT are invited to answer this question. What could be the role of academia in circular economy? I can answer this question in a couple of words. Insisting on applied research. All we need now is applied research. We don't have neither the time nor the energy to do any other kind of research. Therefore, it's extremely important to coordinate with the clusters, with the private sector, and set up really clear objectives for research, for applied research. Karina Khalil says that food packagings are one of the most difficult components of the supply chains to manage when it comes to waste due to their varieties. Does Liban Pack offer a recycling option for their package? And So that's about it. If you allow me, at the end, I send a massive thank you to the entire believers who made this event possible. I mean, the Embassy of the Netherlands, the wonderful teams from Beritech and Koot. No names, you guys know yourselves. And a final thank you note to all the dreamers out there, all the believers who still haven't lost hope. Keep your faith and let's build something beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you as well for the invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Rodrigue, for the amazing panel. Thanks our panelists for the amazing session. A lot of information were shared, and definitely this is something that we need to build on. Koot is a cluster that we need to empower. Koot is a cluster that we need to depend on. And definitely the topics were super interesting, especially where you are tackling the waste. And this is an issue that we are tackling since long ago now. So recycling, upcycling, everything that was shared with the audience is important. It's important not only for our startup,